Lost my cool with my 27F parents, 57F, 59 male, for pushing me to forgive my cheating ex. I was to be married in July. 2 months ago I came home from a work trip to find my ex-fiancé in bed with my BFF's sister. I kicked him out, cancelled the wedding, warned him I would get rid of his stuff if he didn't come get it all, then weeks later dumped it all on the curbside with a free sign, sold or donated or dumped everything he gave me, and pawned the ring. I blocked him everywhere. Called the cops on him when he showed up, after I gave his stuff away, banging on my door, called them again when he turned up at my workplace and made a scene, and called them on his family when they showed up en masse to plead his case. I didn't go scorched earth on ex-BFF's sister. I did tell her husband I caught her in bed with my ex. Last I heard she'd been kicked out of the house and was back living with her parents. Ex-BFF tried talking me into giving them both a chance to explain. What? No, then got angry at me for ruining her sister's relationship, called me petty and cold-hearted. So I kicked her to the curb too. I don't want dishonest people that are blasé about betrayal in my life. This encounter no doubt simmered under my skin until I unleashed on my parents. Maybe that's the reason, because it lingered, I was so harsh with them. Last week I met my parents for dinner. I took a date with me to the restaurant hoping his being there would waylay any discussion about my failed engagement. My parents have been pressuring me to work things out with the ex. He's so sorry. I owe it to him to talk with him. Give him 5 minutes to explain himself. She meant nothing to him, he made a mistake. I'm cruel for shutting him out the way I have. How could I call the police on him? How could I do the same to his family? His parents? They're good people, he deserved to be humiliated in that manner. He's having a rough time. He's depressed. Everybody is worried about him. He loves me, really loves me. He's learned his lesson. It's time to grow up and forgive him. No. My date's presence didn't stop them from bringing it all up again. I lost my cool. Asked my father if he expected me to give my ex a pass every time he sticks his dick into anything that moves? Like he does. I asked my mother how turning a blind eye to her husband's infidelity works for her. How does she hold her head up while having lunch with women that have slept around with her husband for years? Is that the kind of man, the life she wants for me and my sister? For her daughters? I asked if they had any idea of the impact that knowledge had on me and my siblings growing up. Knowing that dad was late home from work because he was screwing his secretary. Knowing work weekend was code for dirty weekend with a woman not our mother. Did they not know why it was that of their 4 children, I am the only one that still talks to them? Do they not question why they were not invited to my brother's weddings? Why they have never met either of my brother's wives and children? Do they think my sister's silence is because she's being dramatic and throwing a tantrum? Really? I stood from the table, congratulated them on the loss of their last, remaining child, and told them I hope their arrogance, willful blindness, and misery was a comfort them to their last breaths. Then I left. My date, I should have saved him for a proper date rather than a F you to my parents, took me to the nearest bar, let me cry on his shoulder while I proceeded to get shit-faced, then made sure I got home safely. The next day he messaged me to see if I was alive and sent a double cheeseburger, large fries, and a large Sprite over with DoorDash. I didn't block my parents but I haven't heard from them. It's been a week and I've calmed down enough to feel regret. Not for what I said, but because I can see the looks on their faces when I made my final farewell. I crushed them, hurt them, especially my mother. Despite their faults, and there are many, I love my parents. I don't like knowing I hurt them. I'm feeling a lot of guilt about it. Ida? Edit, I have yet to read all the comments, but from what I have seen so far, I think some details need to be cleared up. My date knew we were going to have dinner with my parents. He asked me out that morning. I told him my plans for the evening and jokingly asked if he wanted to come along. I didn't expect him to say yes. I then informed him I wasn't serious, and anyway, it would probably be a little uncomfortable, and he said if needed, he could post bail. So, there you go. He did not enter that restaurant unaware of potential drama. Edit number 2, the people mentioned in my post are not the only people in my life. I have my siblings in my life. They didn't cut me off. My sister flew in to be with me just days after I discovered the cheating. And I have good friends. Friends who helped me pack up ex's things. Helped me to move it all down to the curb. A friend that found me a guy that paid a fair price for the engagement ring. I only mentioned ex-BFF, etc., because how they acted and what they were saying contributed to all those buried feelings that had been dormant for years coming out when they did, in the way they did. Oop, I could maybe be the bigger person if he got me a burrito instead of the taco I wanted. Cheating on me in my apartment in my bed? Update 1. It's been a minute since I was here last. Life has been busy, work has been busy, and updating Reddit wasn't on my mind. Apologies to all those that continue to send messages asking for an update. I figure better late than never. A quick recap. Lost my temper with my parents when they tried to push me to forgive and reconcile with my cheating ex. Some really hurtful and harsh truths were shared by me to them in the moment. Afterwards I felt tremendous guilt. The regret started to eat at me. Where to start? First, a thank you to all who replied to my post. I tried to read every comment, and though I didn't post for the validation most of you gave, receiving it did lighten the load a little bit. It didn't take away from the guilt I carried, but I was able to work through that to see that although my timing was off, what I said was absolutely necessary. Thank you, too, to To some of those that sent me private messages rather than posting on the main thread. Having read your own stories of a similar upbringing, conversing with you has helped me to understand that my childhood and teens were traumatic. That those years left wounds that I'd never addressed until this all came about. One more shout out to those that sent harassing messages about my choices. Those people that preached about the sanctity of marriage, and how men are basic creatures with basic needs. Those that attempted to school me in how to be a woman that needs to lean to do my duty by allowing a man his vices, and that it was really all my fault for not supporting my ex in his time of need. Special shout out to the men that offered to teach me how to be submissive, and learn my place in this world. And last but not least, the sweet little chicken nugget that told me my reaction was proof that I am a serial cheater and my ex should have used a cattle prod on my happy place. It must have been tough for all of you when your women left. Big props to those ladies for escaping a life of misery with you. Now for what has happened since. My mother left my father not long after my post. Maybe a couple of weeks after. She showed up at my apartment one night with her luggage. I can't explain how broken and pitiful she was. I brought her inside, held her, and my heart broke for her. I realized then that she had no one she could turn to, absolutely no one. No family, no friends. I cannot help but wonder if she had been all alone for all the years of her marriage, and if me or one of my siblings had said something sooner, would she have had the courage to leave my father then? I'd never seen my mother, usually so dignified and unruffled, look so broken. It shocked me to see her that way. It worried me so much that I made her sleep in my bed with me. I called my siblings and within days they all came to show support and love. Then it was me, my mother, and my sister sleeping in my bed. It was good for her to see that her children still cared. Because we did care, we did love her. It was the situation my siblings distanced themselves from. At first my mother stayed with me. She was having a hard time of it. Years of humiliation, shame and guilt ate at her. I was worried about her state of mind and didn't like to leave her alone. I couldn't take time off work to be with her every second of the day, so I took her to the shelter and we got her a dog. My thinking was if she had something to take care of, it would distract her from dark thoughts. I was hoping for a puppy because they're playful and would keep her busy, but she fell in love with a 5-year-old mixed breed, and he fell right back. He's a goof. We don't know how it happened, but we woke up one night to him howling because he had somehow wedged his head in between the spindles on the stairs. His whole head. We had to call the fire department to rescue him. Of course my mother didn't think he was at fault and she now refers to him as her baby. He adores my mother though. My oldest brother moved some things around then moved her across the country to live with him and his family. He thought she would do better if there was no chance of her running into dad or one of his many women. He found her a therapist and that seems to be working. She is loving being a grandmother and all reports are that she is an indulgent one. She has a separate in-law suite so she gets to see them every day. My brother tells me when the kids go missing, they can now be found at grandma's. My dad, Dot is my dad. He doesn't lack for company. I had a dinner with him not long after my mother moved across the country where he introduced me to the new woman in his life. I reminded them both that I knew exactly who she was considering. She called my mother her best friend for all my life. Cue another awkward dinner. My dad tried to make it as pleasant as he could, but whenever she spoke to me I would bring up a memory from my childhood of her spending time with our family and ask if she was sleeping with my father all the way back then. The next day he called to tell me how disappointed he was with me. I felt it only fair to share my own disappointments. We argued for a bit. He tried to downplay all he had done over the years, tried to play the victim of his own actions. I ended up cutting the conversation short and blocking him. It was just over a month ago when he showed up at my door. I wouldn't let him in and I'm sure that rattled him some. He told me he didn't want to lose me too. Say what you want about him, but he is my dad. I love him. I don't want to lose him either. He promised he wouldn't force me to interact with any of his women. So far we have had a couple of pleasant outings that have gone well so far. I am cautiously hopeful that we can continue to be in each other's lives. As for me, well, I took that advice some of you gave me and I am in therapy. It is humbling to come to the realization that though you may think you're fine, you are, actually, not. It has been almost unbearable to face all that history, and excruciatingly painful to dig through it all. At the end of some sessions all I want to do is head to the nearest bar and drink until I forget all about what I just went through to find out where it all started, and why I am the way I am. I think therapy is one of the most difficult things I have ever done. I don't know how some of you have been doing it for as long as you have. I also don't know why you do it so willingly. I'm a crazy nutter or listening to all you nutters in the first place. But it is helping. Now, for the update most of you want. I cannot even tell you how many messages I continue to receive from people wanting to know about him. It was almost like you all were saying, girl, we don't care about whatever life crisis you're going through, just tell us about the date. Well, I haven't replied to any of those queries because my post wasn't about him. Now, I figure, in a roundabout way, I owe you something because you all played a part in where we are today. I won't give a rundown of everything that has happened between us, but I will give you a few things. He contacted me after seeing a podcast on YouTube. He sent me a link with the query, "Is this you?" It would be an understatement to say I was mortified. My mortification kept me from replying to him. I was so deep in my embarrassment that I didn't even bother to read the messages he sent me over the next couple of weeks. When I finally did read them, it was to find a whole heap of screenshots of people's comments. I'm going out on a limb by saying you don't need me to tell you the contents of the comments he was sending me. I eventually got back to him. It was difficult for us to make time to see each other. As I stated earlier, my life, both personal and professional, has been busy. He also has a life and work. We were only able to meet up for coffee a couple of times. I didn't think we were going to be able to grow a friendship, let alone anything beyond that. I've since learned that he is tenacious and persistent. Like a dog with a bone. He kept at it until we found time to go on a second date. That date went well and led to another. Then another. Then he introduced me to the two most important people in his life. His grandparents. His grandfather carves little wooden figurines, and I have since acquired a flock of wooden birds. His grandmother thinks I'm too skinny. She feeds me whenever I see her, and usually sends me home with food. He gets along with my sister and brothers. He came with me to visit my mother on her birthday and met them all. He was very gracious with her. I had him saved in my phone as Cheeseburger. He took issue with that because he bought me a double cheeseburger. So I started calling him Double Cheese, and then shortened that to DC. He is still saved in my phone as Cheeseburger. He's an undercover Swiftie, and I don't quite know what to do with that. I don't have anything against Taylor Swift, but I sure didn't pick him to love her. He did use his little sister and niece as cover for his Taylor Swift love. Now on to second story. Altered my girlfriend's skin tone in photos without realizing the impact, and now she's questioning our relationship. My 30 male, GF, 35F, and I have been together for almost a year now. I already know I want to marry her someday, but she was clear even on our first date that she wants to take things slow, and we have. She's a very beautiful woman, and also black. I am white. No big deal to me. But this comes into play. I posted a photo on Facebook of us after we agreed to be exclusive and an official couple. I did touch up the photo a bit, and when she came over she asked about what I did to change the photo. I was honest with her and told her I did use a lightening tool as she is very dark-skinned, and I felt her mood shift entirely. She was overly calm and asked me if her dark tone needed adjusting that much in photos, and I got nervous and just joked that if she's darker than Lupita Nyong'o, an actress she loves, then yeah, I had to lighten her up a bit. I have to say I think my GF is gorgeous and striking. She has these beautiful almost hazel eyes, long curly thick hair, and is toned like a midnight sky. I've never seen anyone who looks like her in person. Here where I'm he and ah. I work in photography as a hobby after work and mainly do weddings and such, but have little to no experience in photos of people of color, so I asked to do some test shoots with her. When I showed her the touched up photos, she said that she looked noticeably lighter in her skin tone and said that she didn't really like it. I honestly thought one of the photos might very well be my favorite photo of her ever, and pointed out that I always think she's beautiful, but this photo is the most beautiful I've ever seen her. She asked me if that meant I wished her skin was lighter, but reassured her that I don't obsess about what I can't change, and I always think she is the most attractive person in the room. She started taking about how she was discriminated against, and I quickly backtracked because I felt she was trying to say I might be racist. I am not. She said that it happens even in black communities that people with darker skin are treated badly, and that because she is biologically an only child all her siblings are lighter, and it was a point of bullying for her. I said, well, I am not black, so I am not shaming you, which my brain did the stupid sentence salad, and I knew I sounded stupid, but she just went quiet and didn't really say much after that and didn't want to stay over after. She was a bit distant for a day and then texted the other night that we need to talk essentially. Update 1. It's very disheartening to find so many people on here that are so quick to throw insults and weighted terms and wish for calamity upon another human being. I wish you all peace someday, and I suggest you replace the hate in your hearts with empathy, patience, and love. I will update soon, as despite the trolls, some genuinely good people have reached out and I am grateful. You saved me from making an even worse mistake and for sure losing someone I hold dear. Oop, I edited the photo and touched it up like a billion people edit and touch up photos all over the world. Oop, I never said that. I did say I like the photo and that it's likely one of my favorites of her, but it was genuinely an innocent "you're just so beautiful" thing that was colored with me being proud of sharpening my skills to produce an image of her. I do very much tend to lean on the side of not obsessing about unchangeable things, but I never meant it to allude that unchanging things are bad things. I do hear what you're saying in the way it all sounded and have realized how hurtful that must have been coming from her BF. So I will be apologizing and trying to do better. Update 2. Hey guys. To some of your joy and others' dismay, my GF did not break up with me nor me with her. I invited her out to her absolute favorite restaurant, got dressed up, had flowers, and wrote an apology in a card. Said car said in the front "mean people suck," and on the inside it said "I am sorry," where I wrote out how I completely fucked up and I hurt the woman I adore and admire, and I was so incredibly sorry. I apologized in person too, of course, and at first she had no expression. She just listened to me and I was getting nervous, so I started rambling and stuttering and sounded like an idiot, but she leaned forward and touched my knee and told me she appreciated me taking time to apologize like this and she had already forgiven me, and asked if she can talk about it to me, which of course I said yes. She explained further that it took her years to lobe her skin and how she was bullied by strangers, friends, and family alike for her dark skin. She said the Black Panther movies meant so much to her in part because of how diverse the skin tones, hair, and builds of black people were represented, and she loved the race that a dark-skinned black woman was prominently on a poster for it. She told me that she foresaw hurdles as we are an interracial couple, but me calling the photo my favorite made her feel that I secretly wished she were lighter, and it reignited a deep insecurity. I apologized and reiterated that she is the most beautifully striking woman I have ever seen and that I feel she is out of my fucking league a million times over, but I did not show or appreciate that when I got defensive. I conceded that it was not her job to educate me on racism or microaggression, but she said while she agrees she prefers me to just talk to her, ask questions, and accept feedback. I agreed so long as I didn't overburden her with it, as I intend to resume my previously paused therapy and start getting more educated. She's actually really interested in my photography and wants to learn how to edit for fun and also to potentially help me out for when she says I blow up and get too many clients to handle. I am falling in love with her all over again. I know I don't deserve her love or patience, but am I lucky bastard indeed. I ended up showing her my first post and she laughed at me for being clueless but helped me feel better after some of the bushings I received. She's a really sweet person and I love her so much. It was a brief chat only because she volunteers on Saturdays, but she accepted my invite for me to spoil her tonight by taking her to her favorite hot pot place and buying her whatever she wants as a feeble attempt to partly mend things. I told her anytime she feels othered or is hurt because of the complexity of our backwards world still not treating humans like humans, to please consider speaking to me about it. While she doesn't have to, I wanted her to know she always can and I will always be there to listen. We plan to take an editing class together, this time by a photographer of color, and I cannot wait. Thanks to all who have been kind and civil while gently helping me navigate to this place. I still have a lot of making up to do, but I feel like I am back on the right track. Edit. Since I've now gotten messages and comments from more than 3 people wishing me nothing but misery, I want to make this blanket edit. You're free to lash out at internet strangers, but I am so blessed and lucky because one opinion I needed the most was my GF's, and she just sent me a meme of those penguins hugging and it says, "I love you, I'm lucky as hell and happier than I deserve." If that displeased you, I suggest doing something kind for yourself or someone you love today. Knowing your loved ones know of and feel your love is a hell of a drug. A little update also because I've had to say it a few times in the comments, my GF and I had a really long and deep conversation and are feeling really good about things. I invited her over to watch Netflix and I have cooked dinner. She's been really sweet to this old asshole she's dating. I cannot express my relief, but I know I am in the midst of learning and unlearning things. Someone sent me a few books over Kindle to read and I want to say thank you. I'm already midway through one and it's been eye-opening. Much love to all of you. Good night. Oop, I ask myself something similar, and from what I've read as I'm trying to learn, many Americans have this weird concept that lighter is better, but I never thought I felt that way. My GF is like midnight. She is the darkest or chocolate on scale, her words, but she has bright big hazel eyes, so she is sort of an anomaly in that way. I have truly never met a person who looked like her before or after other than her parents. But I immediately thought she was the most beautiful girl in the world. My best guess is the class I took for editing was around these spectrums of tools and I leaned hard into that set of rules. I won't bore you with aperture issues etc., but it was golden hour and she wore bright clothes on the photo, so I think I was trying to even everything out. My best friend, who also happens to be a black woman, suggested that my consumption of certain media on Facebook, Instagram etc. skewed me on a certain direction of how photos should look, so maybe that's a factor. The thing I think really got me is that my stepmother was a black woman, and she had opinions about shades of skins as she got older. I loved her deeply and still do, but as SHE declined towards the end, I think a lot of intrusive thoughts won out as we spoke. Please understand that she was not a bad person. She had a rough life and yet managed to be the sweetest adoptive mother one could ask for. I didn't bring her up before at first because I never considered it a reason, and then after because frankly I got such vile and cruel feedback by a handful of people and I simply couldn't bear it if someone mistook one flaw of mom as her being horrible when she is likely the reason I am here alive today. At the end though, there is no good reason or justifiable reason. And typing out how pretty I think she is does not change the fact that there is an underlying fucked up reason it felt so normal and innocuous to do that. I can't you why I backpedaled and got defensive. I wanted her to like the photos and thought I could sway her by being positive stupid, but in an oversimplified way that was the gist. It haunts me, but I'm trying not to rush it. I have a therapy session for 2 weeks from now with a woman I know and trust and is also a black woman in an interracial relationship. She offered to help me and honestly I felt like a helpless baby bird floundering before that, so I have a few sessions with her this summer. I am hoping to figure it out. Sorry, I know that was a lot. It's on my mind constantly. My partner is with me, this sub-average white bearded bald dude with a certifiable dad bod, while she is supermodel gorgeous. I take her out and she gets hit by any gender. It's not so secretly a huge boost in those moments because she makes it a huge deal that she is the full for the compliments or offers, but she is with her BF and I am her one and only. I'm sorry for rambling. And for the non-answer. I am still processing. And I meet her for dinner tonight and am nervous as hell. Oop, I am sorry to even have evoked those feelings. I was being stupid and defensive. My ignorance caused a lot of hurt. I can only hope very deeply that I can, will, and do love her so actively that any time that thought comes row her me d she would perish it. I will do my best to make that reality.